Good morning, everyone. My name is Josh Tifa with Turning Point USA. I've been here for over a decade. Charlie Kirk was the greatest man of my generation. We met at a Tea Party rally in 2014 when he gave this wild speech claiming that he was going to make it cool to be a young conservative. In 2014, that was just about the craziest thing that you could have said in this country. And then I watched him do it. I watched Charlie Kirk transform American culture. Nothing could stand in his way because God was with him. And in his death, he reached the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ. There were more people that day who heard about the gospel than just about any day I can think of. It was really very special. We have been given an extraordinary opportunity to put Club America chapters on high schools all across the country. In just the last 2 months, we have started 3,000 new Turning Point chapters, many of them in this great state. And we have 135,000 requests to start new chapters across the country. It's safe to say we are very excited for Erica Kirk to lead us into this new era of the conservative movement. In the early days, virtually everyone wrote us off, but not Ron DeSantis. We hosted our first national summit in 2015 in a West Palm Beach airport hotel with 200 kids, and just about every important person in the country ignored us and laughed at us and scoffed at us. But Ron DeSantis traveled down and spoke to our 200 kids in that airport hotel. He had nothing to gain, but he showed up anyway, and that's the day I knew Ron DeSantis would be a real leader, and I appreciate him so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Governor Ron DeSantis, our champion.
Thank you. Well, thanks so much. Great to be here. Thank you. Great to be in New College. Great to be back in Sarasota. The new and improved New College. What a difference a few years makes. Well, we're proud to be joined today by so many great folks. I know we've got a lot of people affiliated with the university. We have Florida's Lieutenant Governor with us today, Jay Collins. We have our Education Commissioner, Stasi Kamoutsis. The Chancellor of the State University System, Ray Rodriguez. And then we have local reps, Buchanan and McFarland. And last but not least, New College President, Richard Corcoran. So one of the things we've done from the time I was governor, when Richard was our education commissioner, is we made a strong effort and really made a central effort to reinvigorate civics education in this state. It's become a lost art across the country. A lot of times people are graduating without having really any sense of what it means to be an American, no foundation about the principles that make the country great. And the way I view it is you're going to be doing a lot of different things if you go through our K-12 system. Some will go to university, some will go to state college, some will go to apprenticeship, some will just go into the workforce. There's a whole host of paths that people will take, and we want to encourage people to do the path that they like the best. But no matter what path, everyone's going to be called upon to exercise the duties of being an American citizen. And that means something, and that's important. And so we've tried to elevate the art of civics and citizenship in a meaningful way. Now, some of that is, quite frankly, what we've done at New College to make sure that this is a liberal arts college that is fulfilling the classical mission of the university, pursuing truth, elevating merit, and ultimately preparing these students to be citizens of this republic. We've also done things at universities like the Hamilton Center Institute at UF, Adam Smith Center at Florida International. These are basically hotbeds of Western civilization thinking, classical thinking, things that, again, have fallen out of favor in the elite academy over recent decades. But we've done a lot on K through 12. And we've had some more requirements for more civics instruction, and that's important. But, we can sit there and say, you got to know the Constitution, you got to know the Federalist Papers. But, like, what are they actually being taught in the classroom? And the reality is a lot of teachers, particularly younger teachers, if you're going through universities in this country, you're not graduating with a very strong background, most likely, in the founding of the country and all the key debates that shape the institutions. Like, that's viewed as passé amongst that group of academics. Now, that's changing in Florida, but in most parts of the country. Oh, and incidentally, they just did a college rankings in the Wall Street Journal, and what they did was they said, listen, you have legacy institutions. Like, look, you have some of these institutions that are older than our country, right? Harvard, Yale, these places. So they've got all this prestige that's been built up over the years, but the question is, like, what actually are students getting? Yeah, you're getting prestige and legacy prestige, but what? So they said, what about commitment to free speech? What about making sure that you have a good environment, free exchange of ideas, no indoctrination, merit over identity politics, all the things that I think most people think universities should be doing. And so it's very good criteria. And in that criteria, when you rank the universities across the country, they rank the University of Florida #1 in America on that criteria. They ranked Florida State #7 in America on that criteria. But the reality is we're doing that work, but that's not traditionally what's been happening around the country. So it's like, okay, if you want to teach civics, how we make sure the teachers are armed. So we created a Civic Seal of Excellence program. It's 50 hours of instruction. Teachers can go through, and not just civics teachers, history teachers, English teachers, whatever, we want you to go through. And you're getting real good instruction. We got people from like Hillsdale College, Heritage, all these people to come and do this course, and the teachers get a $3,000 bonus when they go through. And what are they doing? They're learning about basically everything our founders knew when they went in and did all this stuff. They're doing that, and so now you have a great foundation where you can inspire these students. And so we're really glad that we were able to do that. But one of the big things that we have done in Florida is reinvigorate speech and debate. When you became education commissioner, what did we had very few districts even had it, like maybe like 5 or 10 out of 67 counties didn't even have this. Now, today, because of what we've done, all 67 counties have robust speech and debate programs, and we do competitions and we do all this stuff. But it's important because, especially in the age of these smartphones and texting and social media, you got to put that down. You got to be able to stand on your 2 feet, and you got to be able to make an argument on an issue. You got to think about counter arguments. You got to think about people on the other side. How do you persuade somebody of a point? It's really become a lost art in most of our K through 12 system across this country. And maybe you get a topic and maybe you're somebody that hates Second Amendment, and you get a topic and you have to defend Second Amendment right. Maybe you're going to get out of your comfort zone and have to question some of your own assumptions and maybe see things a little bit differently. So there's a lot of value in critical thinking. There's a lot of value. And I'll tell you, one of the things we did in Florida that's been super successful, and we were the first state, no cell phones in the classroom. We actually... You know, we did this a few years ago, and when we announced it, MSNBC said that it was akin to fascism to not have cell phones. Now even the liberal states are doing it because it's obvious, and it's, first of all, from a student perspective, you know, just being mired on that, you're not going to be able to have attention, but also from a teacher perspective, would you want, if you're a college student, to go into teaching, if you're just going to sit there and basically talk to a wall because all these kids are on their phones? No. I mean, so it's not good for teachers. It's not good for recruiting good people. So we're able to do that. And I'll tell you, it's only going to get worse if we don't put our foot down with this technology. Social media has not been good for kids. Let's just be clear about that. Facebook has made a lot of money off it. They've made a lot of money. A lot of these companies have made a lot of money. It has not made the experience of growing up and all that better. Now, there's positives to it. I'm not going to deny that, but there's been a lot of negatives, particularly in education. So no phones in the classroom, I think is good. Now they're going to be doing artificial intelligence, and what is the danger of that is students are going to think that they're just relieved of any responsibility to think for themselves. Just plug it into a machine. Let the LLM tell you all these things. First of all, I got news for you guys. You know, who is running those chat bots and those LLMs? You know, it's big tech companies. They do not have your best interests at heart. They do not see the world the way that you do. And I don't care how efficient an LLM or a machine is in going through, whatever the data set that entity is crunching is what they're going to end up producing. So garbage in the data set, garbage out in terms of the answers that they're doing. And if you know anything about, you know, our founding fathers, they were very wise about accurately identifying the flaws in human nature. That's why they built the government that we have with checks and balances, separation of powers. Madison said that if men were angels, no government would be necessary. Madison said if angels were to govern men, then you wouldn't need any internal constraints on government. But that's not the world we live in. Don't think that somehow a tech overlord is somehow immune to the flaws in human nature. If they have the ability to control so much of society by manipulating these data sets, of course they're going to do it. Do you not remember COVID when they were censoring the truth? I mean, we literally did a thing, and I was the only one willing to do it at the time. This is, you know, pretty early in COVID. I get some of these experts who were actually speaking out. There was like 6 in the world that were willing to speak out at the time. And I got Oxford, Stanford, Harvard, and they were ostracized by their colleagues. I was like, should a 5-year-old kid in kindergarten be wearing a mask all day? No, there's no basis. Google censored that video. You know, we had it up. We had people. It was a nice round table. They censored it. They censored a lot of speech. They censored a lot about, I mean, just think about it. One of the most important debates that we could possibly have as a country in terms of what has impacted people more broadly than the COVID response, and yet they wanted to short-circuit debate. So the idea that somehow this artificial intelligence is just going to be so great for students, I think there are way more perils than positives, and we're doing it right by making people think for themselves, by making them pay attention with a technology-free environment, no distractions, and actually learn. You know, that worked for many thousands of years very well there. I actually saw, you know, you don't know what to believe when you see, but someone posted something online. It was an exam in like Kentucky for like an 8th grade graduation. And I'm reading these questions and I'm like, it was so much higher, you know, than what we've seen now. So we're working hard to correct that. So we're proud of what we've done, you know, with the technology. So I do think it's important. Put aside all the stuff about you need to know civics and all, just to be able to stand on your feet, have a debate, see things, have your assumptions questioned. You know, that's one of the problems with these universities across the country. When they're imposing orthodoxy, these students are never challenged on the assumption. Just repeat party line. And you need to have your assumptions challenged. You need to think, you know, critically about the positions you're taking, about the arguments you're making. So we've been able to do that, and it's now been a really big rip-roaring success, our Civics and Debate initiative. So since we've done this, We've had over 330 new speech and debate teams, all 67 counties, with over 4,200 student competitors taking part in our competition. During the first year of the initiative, my first year as governor, we had 11,600 students in Florida that competed. That number rose to 14,300 1 year later. In the past year, we've had over 430 students participate in our Speech and Debate Initiative State Championship program, which is really significant. And we think we're going to end up with over 600 for this year's, which, oh, by the way, this spring, 2026, Speech and Debate is going to be held right here at New College of Florida. So we're here to say that we're proud of what we've been able to do to facilitate speech and debate amongst our high school students, but we're also here to announce that we are going to be naming the prize for the winner of the speech and debate in honor of Charlie Kirk. So people will be able to win a Kirk Prize for winning speech and debate. And part of the reason we wanted to do that is because the whole mission of Turning Point was really, there wasn't, said not a lot of people were willing to go at the time. And I think part of it is like, you're going into the belly of the beast and you're going to bring conservative ideas to these liberal campuses. Good luck with that, right? A lot of people are just like, but, that was really important. And I think what happened over the years, and it's obviously grown a lot, was, some of these students get up there and they do their talking points, and you'd have somebody like Charlie batting them down. And none of these people had maybe had any pushback to any of this stuff before, and now all of a sudden they're doing it. Now, I know some people, you could tell them 2 + 2 = 4, and if they don't believe it, they're just not going to. I get that, but I think it causes people to actually have to think. And I know that Charlie was he was beating the bushes in Florida like for a long time before he became really well known, developed a big following in this state, particularly with a lot of contributors in different parts of the state, even lived in this community here in Sarasota for a time. So we were proud to be able to do that in memory, but it's not just a prize in and of itself, which is good. You win the championship, you get a good pat on the back. We wanted it to be even more meaningful to that. So when we have the championships on April 5th, 2026 in New College, we're proud to announce that it's not just going to be a trophy that you get. Because of private donations to the Florida Education Foundation as well as Florida Prepaid, we are going to be able to award the winner of the Kirk Prize a $50,000 scholarship. The runner-up in our Speech and Debate Championship will receive a $25,000 scholarship. Semifinalists will receive $15,000 each, and the 4 remaining quarterfinalists will each receive a $10,000 scholarship. And before you say $10,000 isn't much with higher, in Florida it's a lot because our tuition's the same as when I took office, $6,300. And you actually can use this, so our prepaid and all this, obviously we want people to stay in state, especially if you're a good debater, but you can take it where you want to take it. And I think we're confirming, well, I'll make it happen, but so say you win the $50,000 and you go to University of Florida, which is not easy to get into, or you go to New College or whatever, and then you're like, you know what, I want to do master's or law school or something like that. You're not going to spend $50,000 in undergrad in Florida, most likely, so you should be able to apply that to graduate. And so we'll make sure that that happens as well. So this is a pretty big deal. Additionally, thanks to the Ronald Reagan Foundation, both the winner and the runner-up of Florida's debate championships will receive invitations to attend the National Ronald Reagan Presidential Debate in California. Then the Ronald Reagan Presidential Debate is inspired by President Reagan's legacy of principled leadership, civil discourse, and effective communication. The debate there emulates the style of presidential debates of old, emphasizing practical communication skills like civility, personality, humor, and storytelling. I don't know anyone's been able to do that as good as the Gipper. It's a unique one-on-one style debate designed to blend civic knowledge with persuasive rhetorical delivery. And I think that students that have been able to do that have really, really loved doing that. So that's a big deal. I know there's a lot of students that were going to be eager to compete anyways. This is even more incentive to get involved. I mean, you literally, if you have you're a silver tongue orator, you go in, you win it. I mean, you have school paid for. You don't have to worry about it at that point. So that's really, really good. I want to thank everyone that's involved. We are also today announcing a partnership with Turning Point. We want to make sure that all high schools in Florida, anybody in a high school that wants to start a state Club America chapter will be able to do so. There shouldn't be any impediments to that, and certainly no discrimination. We're not going to allow that. And any school or school district that does try to discriminate, that man right there will probably first send you a nastygram and then drop the hammer. So that will happen. And so this was founded earlier this year, but Club America is a new student-led organization designed to mobilize high schoolers to advocate for American values, freedom, free enterprise, and limited government. And obviously, Charlie started out as one of the lone voices on university campuses talking about those back in the day. So I look forward to seeing more high school students, get involved. When you have something as tragic as a public assassination of somebody who was just engaging in debate, I mean, it's a really negative commentary on the state of America. I mean, I don't want to generalize too much, but the idea that this guy would think that somehow it would be acceptable response to ideas you disagree with is really, really troubling. And that's not what this country is about. And I know it was a real tragic thing. I know it was very devastating for a lot of people. But that said, when this happened, people who didn't know who Charlie Kirk was are watching his videos. You're starting to see more young people take an interest and be educated. And now they want to get involved. So they've had a huge groundswell of interest ever since that tragic day. And I know that they're going to make sure that they have the infrastructure to help accommodate all the young people that want to get involved. It's very easy to be apathetic when you're young. There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I can tell you when I was in high school, this wasn't something that I would have been doing or didn't do or whatnot. And maybe that's good or bad, depending on what else you're involved with. But I do see a renewed interest, and so we want to make sure that we're providing the pathway if people want to do this, that they have a pathway to do it. And again, we're not going to tolerate any administrators or school districts who are trying to put the kibosh on it just because they represent ideas that they may not like. Okay, and finally, we're here to also highlight what Florida is doing for Commemorating America 250. I signed an executive order, I think probably at the end of last year, to prepare the state for July of 2026, which will be marked 250 years since the Declaration of Independence. We've already done things like I got this massive, amazing George Washington statue loaned to us from Mount Vernon. We put it in the state capitol in Tallahassee. So you walk in, you want to go to the governor's office, you got to go by G-Dub right there. It's very nice. And we're proud of that. We brought a Jefferson statue to Jefferson County up in North Florida. We brought a Franklin statue to Franklin County in the Panhandle. We're working on a Hamilton. The thing is like these people around the country have really revolted, definitely the woke left, revolted against America's history, and so they've been taking down statues of founding fathers. We're putting them up, and we're proud to do that. But one of the things it's done is it's kind of given us an opportunity because we can buy these things that have been mothballed in other states at a discount. So Alexander Hamilton on sale from the state of Colorado or wherever. So we're doing that. We'll have Hamilton in Hamilton County in North Florida, father of the Constitution, James Madison. We're going to do a statue there. Monroe County is the Florida Keys. So we're going to definitely do that. You know, maybe we'll do Key West. Would be interesting to see the response there, but we're going to do it. And we just got to keep going. So we're leaning into it because, one, I just think it's something that we should commemorate. You know, the founders of this country, when they signed the Declaration of Independence, that is not the equivalent of modern day someone just emoting on social media. It was very meaningful. When they signed, they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. And they were people that had a lot to lose. These are not people on the fringes of society in the colonies. These were leaders. These were successful people. And they knew that by signing their name, that John Hancock on the Declaration, the penalty for failure was 100% death. And that's what would have happened to all of them. And Benjamin Franklin said, we either hang together or hang separately. And that's exactly what would have happened. So they had a lot of skin in the game. And they were able to do this, and they knew that free governments had been tried throughout human history. They studied all of those different examples. They drew lessons from them, but really there was only one lesson that really mattered, and it was this. Every single one of them had failed throughout human history. So they viewed it as their responsibility to determine, and our responsibility, can people actually govern themselves? Can you have a society based on the idea that our rights are God-given, not government-granted? That we have a rule of law, not the rule of individual men? That we have government that's limited to its core functions? And that was a question that they were attempting to answer in 1776, in 1787, when they did the Constitution. But they were also very wise to the idea that just simply doing a good declaration, just simply doing a good constitution was not going to be enough. When Franklin walked out of the Philadelphia Convention Hall, 1787, you know, it was in secret. No one knew what they were doing. Someone asked him, did you give us a republic or a monarchy? And he said, I gave you a republic, but only if you can keep it. Because they understand you can have the best constitution, the best declaration. They don't run on autopilot. They require every generation of Americans to cultivate, to defend, and ultimately to preserve this great inheritance that we have. And I think America 250 is an example for us, an opportunity for us to really make that very make a big impression on our young people in particular, so that they understand what it means to be an American and how lucky they are. So we're doing a lot, and we're going to continue to do a lot. We're also partnering with the U.S. Department of Education under the Trump administration to further some of these initiatives. And it's not just a press release. There's real support here. So I'm excited to say that a number of our institutions have received grants from the U.S. Department of Education to commemorate America 250. Florida State, $4.7 million for their Institute for Governance and Civics to start programs about the Founding Fathers for students and to fund civic-minded research projects for educators. Florida International, our Adam Smith Center for Economic Freedom, awarded $2.3 million to teach the principles of the American tradition. University of North Florida, $2.1 million to fund a program designed to enhance civics education for 9th through 12th grade teachers in Duval County Public Schools through inquiry-driven professional development. New College of Florida, $1.8 million grant. And this is part of a project entitled Invigorating Liberty and Self-Governance, First Principles for the 21st Century America. University of West Florida. Richard's successor as Education Commissioner, Manny Diaz, is now the president of West Florida, to transform the existing Summer Institute for Civics Educators into a full-time civic center focused on American civic republicanism, which will foster hands-on training and events for teachers and students across Northwest Florida. So There's no state that's doing more to cultivate, to reinvigorate education about American principles than we are here in the free state of Florida. I think all these announcements are very meaningful. I think you're going to see a really positive impact, particularly from the Kirk Prize and winning that and winning the great scholarships that are going to come of it. And I just want to thank everybody that's been involved. It's been fun to do this. We got a lot more that we're going to do, but we've got everyone pulling in the same direction. And when they don't, Stasi takes care of that, so I don't have to worry about it. But we're going to have more announcements on America 250 as time goes on. So I'm going to turn it over to some of our other speakers here right now. So we'll start with the Lieutenant Governor of the Free State of Florida, our Green Beret, Jay Collins.
Well, it is a remarkable privilege to be here today. You know, if you had told me 5 years ago that I would even be involved in politics, I would have laughed at you. But God's plan is so much bigger than ours. It truly is. You know, we find ourselves in a position where we need warriors in politics. Sometimes it's hard to get politicians to stand up and be warriors. So I believe God wants warriors to step into that fight right here at home again at UPNA. You know, what we're talking about today is pretty unique because we're talking about courage. You see a governor behind me who had the audacity and the courage to stand alone when the world was going completely awry. People often ask, well, where would Florida be if the election hadn't gone that way and he wasn't our governor? I would ask you, where would America be if Governor DeSantis wasn't there? Because the nation would have folded. His courage was contagious. Let's look at Charlie Kirk, a young man who stood and stepped into the lion's den routinely. He understood that courage has to hold. It doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you step in despite the risk and you lead. Look at the impact he's had across this nation, both in life and in his horrible passing. He created a movement because his courage was contagious. What he did will permeate through history, I believe, because one man stood. So when people tell you one person cannot make a difference, I tell you to look at those two gentlemen right there because they truly can. What we're doing today is incredible. You know that I had the opportunity to do many things in my past life, both as a Green Beret and in the nonprofit sector. But often I found that there were many people there, but it just took one person to step into the breach one more time, to be bold when others wanted to back away or back down. So when we talk about instilling the right to speak, the ability to stand on your own and use your voice, that is truly courage. It is. That is remarkable. When we name things and awards and we put skin in the game after a member of our nation, a citizen, a leader, a dad, a husband in Charlie, we don't just memorialize him as a person, memorialize all that he accomplished. That award matters. What he stood for mattered. But what he has done and what he has created will permeate through history, I believe, through awards like this because of how powerful his voice is and was. We are so blessed that somebody like Charlie lived. We are so blessed to have the GOAT right here in the free state of Florida. But endemic to that is understanding that we have to educate our youth, not indoctrinate, as the governor says. Civics is not just a textbook subject. It's a mindset of service and responsibility based on our uniquely American ideas, ideals, and principles. They were fought for and earned in blood. They were in Yorktown, defended in New Orleans. They were nearly ripped apart in the Civil War at Gettysburg and Antietam. They were there in the poppies of Flanders Field. They were there at the cliffs of Pointe du Hoc, frozen in the Chosin, drowned in the rivers of Vietnam, in the mountains of Afghanistan and the deserts of Iraq. But let me tell you where they truly, truly live. It is in the heart of patriots. The fight at home is no different than the fight abroad. It takes courage to step up, courage to make a difference, and that is exactly why we do what we do here in Florida, because we teach people the skills to stand on their own, to use their voice and lead. God has blessed this nation beyond any other. We will not back down. We will not burn away, because Florida is the conservative proving grounds of America. When Florida leads, America wins. Thank you, and God bless you.
So before I bring up Richard Corcoran, we're going to bring up one of his successors as Education Commissioner. And Richard, when he became Education Commissioner, I remember like there were a lot of howls from the school unions, and people were like, "Oh no, you can't do Richard." And then obviously he did a lot of great stuff. Manny Diaz, did a lot of stuff. But if you want to see somebody that's really annoying all the right people, I think our current guy is doing it as good as anyone, and we're proud to have our Education Commissioner here, Stasi Kamoutsis.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here in the New College of Florida, an institution that represents everything that my grandparents who fled communist Cuba came to this country for. I want to begin by thanking the extraordinary leadership of Governor DeSantis and President Richard Corcoran. I had the privilege of working at the beginning of this administration under both of their leadership. And boy, was it impactful in my career. To see the fights that they have taken on, as you identified, Lieutenant Governor, it's truly remarkable. I remember those fights when we kept schools open, the mask mandates, fairness in women's sports, transparency in curriculum, removal of DEI. The list goes on and on and on, so that parents in this state will always feel empowered. Thank you, Governor, and thank you, President Corcoran, for also championing civics. And it's something that's not often covered, but the reality is there are so many different programs throughout our state where students are benefiting, and as a result, report after report, metric after metric finds that Florida leads the nation when it comes to civics education. The Civics and Debate Initiative is one of those initiatives that champions civics for our students, not just in textbook form, but in practical form. Through this initiative, students across the state of Florida learn to engage respectfully in civic dialogue. They develop critical thinking skills, and they grow in civic virtues that are essential to maintaining our constitutional republic. In the state of Florida, as I said, students aren't just studying in the textbooks, but they are putting into action during competitions and debates where they're required to use evidence. They're required to reason and respect as critical components of how they're measured. And I want to talk about this initiative that started under this governor, because when we started, there were only 11 school districts, 59 teams that were participating. Today, you have over 330 in all 67 counties because of his leadership and making sure that civics is a priority in this state. Now, the annual championship brings together the top student debaters from across Florida to compete in a variety of debate and public speaking events that showcase their knowledge, their eloquence, and a commitment to civic values. The values that are central to the mission of the Florida Civics and Debate Initiative, civic discourse and respectful debate, are also what Charlie Kirk modeled every time he had an open forum at a college campus. He encouraged those with different views or opinions to share them and debate him openly. He respectfully debated thousands of individuals over the years. His assassination underscores the increased importance of civic discourse in a peaceful, respectful, and civilized way. Today, we come together in recognition of Charlie Kirk's contributions to civic education and respectful dialogue. And to honor Charlie Kirk's life and legacy, the winner of the Ronald Reagan presidential debate, which will have its debut for the first time at this year's Civic and Debate Initiative Championship, will be awarded that prize, that trophy, that will bear the name of Charlie Kirk, honoring his commitment to civic dialogue and open debate. After 2 days filled with rigorous, robust rounds of debate, there will be a winner, there will be a runner-up, there will be 2 semifinalists, and there will be 4 quarterfinalists. And as the governor mentioned, this year, for the first time, they're going to have these grand prize scholarships, which is a huge deal to incentivize these students that their hard work pays off. And by naming this trophy after Charlie Kirk, we will also emphasize that vigorous debate can and should coexist with civility and respect. And I wasn't going to talk about it, but the governor continues to remind folks that I was a former prosecutor down in Miami, and the reality is accountability will be front and center when it comes to education. Let me be very clear if you haven't received the message already. If you try to serve as an obstacle, if you are a hurdle, if you get in the way of any student or teacher trying to start a Turning Point USA chapter, you will be met with the full force of the law. And I was extremely troubled in the immediate aftermath of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, when many of us were mourning September 11th, that there were teachers who were out there posting, celebrating, encouraging, promoting, condoning the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That will not be tolerated. It is totally unacceptable. Our students are watching, and the model that we are going to represent for these children is going to be one of civic discourse and civility in the same way Charlie Kirk did. I also want to thank folks who don't often receive the credit. The ones who worked behind the scenes, shifting now to those America 250 grants, because I had the privilege of working with some of these universities to make sure that they were participating in such an important initiative, reminding their students, whether it's at the 9-12 level or at the collegiate level, our nation's foundings and how we got to where we're at. I want to thank Clifford Humphreys and Manny Diaz at the University of West Florida. I want to thank Christy Fitzpatrick and Richard Corcoran at the New College of Florida. And I want to thank Monica Colucci and Jeanette Nunez at Florida International University, who worked with the Department of Education to make sure that they were submitting a competitive grant application to be able to receive these awards. This is a huge deal for their respective populations, so thank you for everybody who worked behind the scenes. I also, last but not least, want to thank the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation, the Florida Civics Debate Initiative sponsors. There's so many of them. Thank you for what you do to make sure that our students are put first and they're able to participate in this wonderful competition. I want to thank the parents who are encouraging their students to do it, but I really want to thank the students. That is what this is all about, putting those students first, making sure that they understand the importance of civil discourse, they understand the importance of respectful and open dialogue. Whether or not you agree with the other individual, at the end of the day, violence is never the answer, and we will continue to champion that message here in the state. To the competitors who are participating for the Charlie Kirk Trophy, you are carrying forward a tradition of debate and civic discourse that is vital to the health of our society. Together, we are building a generation of Floridians ready to lead with courage and conviction. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. And you know, when Richard Corcoran was commissioner, he did it through, I think, my entire first term, and then, or pretty close to that, he was doing things kind of in the private sector. And it wasn't a few months after that, I don't think, where we were in a situation where, how is it that I could win the election by a record 1.5 million votes, and yet we have a college here that, like, you would think Mandami was governor, right? I mean, it was just like, I mean, it just was what it was. It was not what the people voted for, which that's a whole nother thing, what's going on in New York City. I mean, like, how would you elect this guy? You know, he comes out, he's like this like phony emotion about, you know, the real hurt of 9/11 was that his aunt got a dirty look on a subway. Not that thousands of people were murdered by jihadists. Come on. But that's exactly the mindset that he has. When you have people that are Congress, like Ilhan Omar, saying 9/11 was just somebody did something, you know, there's a real sickness out there in American society. And, you know, this guy gets elected, you know, people ask, like, like, look, if I have to build a wall on I-95, just like, I mean, to do, maybe we'll have to do it. I don't know. But we had to do something to make, because first of all, New College, it really wasn't getting a lot of attention. The enrollment was very low. It was supposed to be the top honors college in Florida. I don't even think they gave grades out, so it clearly wasn't that. And so it's like, well, look, I mean, if we're funding this, we should fund something that's meaningful. So we saw an opportunity to really provide a strong commitment, not just rhetorically, but financially. And I've done that more than anyone in the history of the state for help this place. But we got to have it so that we're really promoting the classical mission of a liberal arts college. We got to promote merit. We got to promote rigor. We got to promote citizenship and all these things that are so important. And so we made a lot of changes with the board of directors, and then they made changes at the administrative level. And Richard was somebody who was doing other things, but I said this could be really, really meaningful. And I think of what you've seen, and it has, been here 3 years, I don't think, right? 2.5, or a little bit more than that. You've had a real serious transformation. I think it's been incredible. I think he's done a fantastic job. And of all the places we visit or talk about, I will say, so it's like we have very young kids, and we're thinking like, okay, so I played baseball for Yale. I went to Harvard Law School. Those are out, right? It's just too far out there. Our kids, no. So that's not happening. And then I'm like, well, I'm a Navy veteran. What about the Naval Academy? The missus doesn't necessarily, want them in harm's way. And so, it's not like, not no, but the one place she's like, how about New College for the kids? She wouldn't have said that 4 years ago. So come on up, Richard.
Thank you. The governor is so generous. This transformation doesn't happen without his leadership. People ask me all the time, what does it take to turn around the school? And it's everything. I say about everything is leadership. How do you raise good children? It's leadership of the parents. How do you have a good institution? How do you have a great state? Leadership is everything. And what happened here was started with a governor who said, I will fight on every front. I will fight on the higher education front, the environmental front. I will fight on every front. He came in, he chose just fantastic board of trustees. One of our board of trustees is here today. And those trustees were willing to fight. I can tell you, we had meetings in this room, and it wasn't like this. This is wonderful, thank you. We had everything, we were even spat on. It was something. And now it's just this amazing, wonderful institution. We have great faculty, we have great curriculum. And it's been a transformation, and it doesn't happen without Governor DeSantis. So thank you so much, Governor, for all your help. And I need to take a moment to talk about our education commissioner. He's our current commissioner. The guy that was two before him, well, not so good, but he did his best. But I feel like with Stassi, we worked together at the department when I was there. And I always feel like after Stassi talks, I got to be good cop because he's so intense, But whether it's the America 250 grant, this is the kind of commissioner is, he reaches out to Christy Fitzpatrick, our chief of staff. This is back in June and July. And he's like, you guys need to put in, you got these great faculty members you need to put in. Probably don't get the $1.8 million if it isn't for Stassi looking out for the universities the way he does. But he's a fantastic leader and a dear friend. His wife is also works at the Board of Governors that regulates the universities. Just fantastic, up-and-coming, wonderful couple. And so thank you, Stassi, for all your great work. I just want to say really two big points. The first is, we say all the time, universities have been the gold standard for being a marketplace of ideas. If you can't go to a university and be exposed to all the great thoughts of time, and literally some of them, we always say we want to have William F. Buckley's on staff and we want to have Gore Vidal's. And we want them to teach whatever they can, just don't indoctrinate. Teach them how to think, not what to think. But we want to have those great debates. We want you to confront ideas that you find distasteful and hate. We want you to do that, and we want you to do it in a civil way. And we want to be the #1 university in the country for fighting for civil discourse, academic freedom, and free speech. End of story. And the last point I just want to say, you probably have read, we said that we were going to put up a statue to Charlie Kirk after the tragic shooting. And nobody in the history of the United States, this is a bold statement, but it's absolutely true. I mean, nobody. People would say to me, well, why are you doing a statue of Charlie Kirk? And I say, name me somebody who woke up every day and said, I will devote my life to fighting for free speech on college campuses, drove around the country to any campus that would host him, some wouldn't even want to host him, sit there, put a microphone across from himself, and say, prove me wrong, and do it in a wonderful civil way. And because he did that, every day of his life, he was assassinated. You find me that person in American history, there's only one. And so what we want to do, and the irony is today, it's been probably a good 7 years, but Josh is actually the one who introduced me to Charlie Kirk back in Las Vegas. We were at an event, and Josh introduced me. I think he was probably 21-ish, 22 at the time, and he was on a panel, and I just remember being blown away. It's like, because you knew he was a student, but it was just fascinating how even at that age, just dominated the panel of these great academics and great thinkers and great politicians, and the one you remembered was Charlie Kirk at age 20, 21 years old. Just amazing. And so some of you guys will see it shortly. We've worked with the sculptor. It's Charlie Kirk. He's sitting in a high stool. He's smiling, and he has the microphone against his chest, so, and he's reaching out saying basically, come talk to me, debate me. And across from him is an empty microphone that anyone can go up and debate him and ask him a question. And we're going to put it in a very prominent place. And I got this idea. The governor's a huge golfer, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about. But there's a place in Tampa called Old Memorial, and as you hit the 10th hole, there's a statue of 3 caddies. Those 3 caddies all worked in Wall Street and were killed in 9/11. And so they erected this statue of the 3 former caddies at Old Memorial. And as you get off the green of 10 and you walk to the tee of 11, the tradition is you touch the statue as a reminder of the tragedy of 9/11, and let's just never forget. We're going to put it as you come into our new quad, right down the road. You'll come through our archway, and there'll be the Charlie Kirk statue right there. And we're going to hopefully start that tradition is you're going to touch the Charlie Kirk statue as a hat tip to free speech, academic freedom, and civil discourse, the foundational principles of which if they cease to exist, we cease to exist. And we will never let that happen. Thank you.
All right, so April 2026, a major competition. We're going to have over 600 competitors, a lot of significant prize money on the line for people that perform well. We're very excited we were able to deliver these prizes. We're very excited we've been able to commemorate the award in honor of Charlie Kirk. And I can tell you, I know when Charlie was in the Sarasota area, New College was a lot different than it is today. And it's just a hunch of mine, but I think he'd be proud of what's going on here. Thanks, everybody. God bless.